I covered how strong non-hero or legendary warriors are in this series. Now I figured it was time to cover non-legendary mages by looking at lore and the effectiveness of spells and of course what is displayed in art. Magic, unless someone is really talented, takes practice and knowledge to use. Mages will learn magic typically from the Mages Guild, College of Winterhold, the Arcane University, and so on. While the process and steps of learning magic aren't shown in details, we know it works like learning any skill, so you will usually see any place that teaches magic filled with books. Going, or at least staying in school, does not seem to be necessary as we see plenty of non-mages use some type of magic in the series. Perhaps either learning by reading a book, learning it themselves, or having a non-affiliated teacher. But how powerful can the magic be from someone that uses it casually to someone that is well versed and trained for decades? Well, let's get into it. First, before going into destruction, I wanted to point out there are plenty of non-attack spells that are useful in battle, like Fury, that manipulates the mind of the victim into attacking others. Turn invisible, manipulating a person's weight, making them immobile, and various forms of stat enhancements. Telekinesis, which can of course be used to hurl objects and people as well as disarm the enemy. Healing wounds, soul sucking, can even summon lower level entities like ghosts and skeletons. And you have ward spells that can deflect both physical and magical attacks. All can be for novice level skills. Destruction, lightning, flame, and ice. With ice, we see it can of course immobilize and freeze the body part of the victim and the entire body, and can be used as an ice spike that can even pierce through armor. Lightning or shock magic, for some reason, lightning is one of the easier elements to manipulate. It's one of the more common spells you will find a non-mage using. Vanus Galarian used it for defense and traps and thought doing the same with other elements to be unlikely, but of course the others are just as common in later eras. Shock magic also has a direct use in simply being effective regardless of armor. It has great range and it is also real light, which makes it very difficult to dodge. Via manipulating the weather, mages can rain down lightning by creating storms. And finally, the most explosive element, flame. It is said that even apprentice level mages can turn themselves into ash using flame spells incorrectly, so we know it does not take a lot to kill another man with flame. The explosive nature of certain flame spells can affect a large area. The large area of effect affects multiple people and structures. Now something I forgot is a destruction spell is life drain. Kinda like absorbing souls, it bypasses almost everything and literally drains your life force. I should note some rare magics like shouts and sword singing. Rare for later eras at least. Sword singing, from what I could find, is tonal magic similar to shouts. While it may go against my no legendary comments, since they were known as elite warriors, I think only the Asani, the elite of elite, should be excluded. Shouts, if you are this far into the video, you know what a shout is, so I won't waste your time. How strong is a shout? To a normal person, the only normal person trained in shouts I am aware of is Yulfric. One of the two shouts he knows is Unrelenting Force. It is thought that he basically annihilated the king with his voice, but from his own words he basically just knocked him down and killed him with his sword. So unless he is lying, which I'm not sure what he would get out of that, was not a great student, or simply held back. For whatever reason, it would seem that shouting from a normal person is more of a stun, kind of like you see in the games. Now, Feats of Magic. Now, I used to think Nords treated something as useful as magic with such vitriol to be stupid. Then I played Elderscrolls Online, where any evil mage can just screw up an entire town, such as Riza Jewel, who unleashed a blood curse on a town, turning almost the entire town into blood fiends. He then used magic to turn their flesh into a flesh acronac, sealing their souls to the town that, unless defeated, would be trapped forever because part of them is still alive within the creature. That was pretty effed up. Should also note, before attacking, Jewel caused an earthquake on the entire town that felt like a mountain was falling on them. A high elf mage once turned an entire village of people into stone. A mage that had been studying magic for years, after finally coming to understand it, went from not being able to cast a spell at all to being able to destroy an entire village. Most likely was just, at best, princess level mage as well. The cultist Necromancer Drusilla Nerva raised an army of undead warrior orcs bound to her will until death. To me, this backs up the claims somewhat that the Necromancer in Skyrim that said she could raise an army to defeat both forces in a civil war to perhaps be true. So overall, I judge magic and fiction in one way, and that is, if a person with a gun is more dangerous than someone with magic, then your magic is probably not that interesting, or at least that impressive. Luckily, it doesn't appear to be the case for this series, except perhaps for novice level mages. But even then, a novice mage with a variety of spells I would take over a strong warrior in this universe. And if you watch my last video like this, you know how strong a warrior can really be. And an experienced stronger master mage that's, let's say, below Sigil order are very dangerous on a pretty big scale. So now, in destructive terms, they range from small building with multiple durability bypassing hacks, stat enhancements, to around large town level. Well, those are my thoughts. We'll cover what elite and legendary mages can do next. Please like, sub, and hit bell. Later.